We have some more brutal injury news pertaining to the San Francisco 49ers as this team just can't seem to catch a break. 49ers defensive tackle Javon Hargrave has a partially torn triceps in which he suffered against the Rams yesterday. He is most likely out for the year. We're going to talk about that. Injury number 2. Brock Purdy had to undergo an MRI on his back. What does this mean for the Niners offense and their starting quarterback moving forward? And I don't like the sound of this. Christian McCaffrey is in Germany right now. Pictures were circulating over the weekend that he was waiting to board a flight to Munich, and he is seeking treatment for his lingering Achilles injury with an Achilles specialist. All of that is coming your way here on the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day, and this is why you subscribe to the channel, the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube, because anytime there's a big story, whenever there's breaking news, we discuss it right here on the show. And Chip, come to me full screen at first, because I have talked about my concerns with this football team going into 2024 and to start 2024 as far as injuries go. Because one of the things that I was worried about, the Niners have played a lot of football over the last 5 years. They have made it to 4 NFC championship games. They have been to 2 Super Bowls. That is taxing mentally and physically. You were playing football deep into the calendar year until January or February. There is not as much recovery time. Football is a very physical game, and your off seasons become shorter. So with the mental fatigue and the physical fatigue, that was one of the reasons that I was worried about San Francisco going into this season for why they might not be able to reach it to another Super Bowl, because injuries could hold them back. And after the 2019 season, when the Niners made it to the Super Bowl, in 2020, they had the highest injury rate in the NFL. And their season was lost because they simply could not stay healthy. Every year under head coach Kyle Shanahan, they have been top 10 in injury rate since he took over in 2017. Last year, though, they were finally healthy, the 4th healthiest team in the NFL. But now the injuries are starting to pile up. The adversity that this team has to face early in the year with injuries and really difficult defeats is starting to pile up as well. And you hope that we're not going to be robbed by what could be and still could be a very special season for San Francisco. But those are some of the worries that I have as I record this show right now as we try to get through this news here. As for Hargrave, Kyle Shanahan passing along the news. It's a partially torn triceps, and given the severity of that injury, it's very difficult to come back from that. You think about how much a defensive lineman needs to use his tricep when he gets engaged with blockers and tries to pull off pass rushing moves, trying to defend the run. And with the severity of that surgery, it's impossible to come back usually within the calendar marking of a season. And what's bad for the Niners here, they're already very thin along the defensive line and at defensive tackle. And unfortunately for Hargrave, and Kyle Shanahan said this during his press conference today, he thought that Hargrave had his best game as a Niner against the Rams. He had 5 quarterback pressures, team high, and a sack against Los Angeles. There was a clip circulating on social media from late in that game of Hargrave not having any effort and stopping his pass rush on that long ball from Matthew Stafford to Tutu Atwell. It was probably because he knew that he was really injured with that triceps injury, and the MRI revealing the worst possible news for the Niners. And it just sucks for San Francisco because they gave him a 4-year, $84 million contract. Last year, he had 7 sacks. He was okay. They were needing a big year from Hargrave this year through 2 games. Pretty much didn't do all that much, but then he breaks out against the Rams, and now he's out for the season. So you give him that 4-year, $84 million contract, mediocre, solid player last year, but didn't live up to that deal, and you get 3 games out of him this year. When you're putting together a football team, and when you're already cash-strapped like the Niners are, this is not what you want. And this is part of the risk of paying older players in free agency, is that they can break down over time. And the Niners just simply cannot catch a break. These are the 2020 vibes in full effect. And I was certainly concerned about this going into this year for the reasons that I mentioned a little bit earlier. As for the Brock Purdy injury, had to undergo an MRI on his back because after the game, He was a little bit sore. The results did come back clean. And as you look ahead, Niners, Patriots at Levi Stadium on Sunday afternoon, Purdy is considered day-to-day. Best possible outcome here. If he were to be hurt, then you're talking about bad juju and just the injury gods being against San Francisco in every way, shape, or form. But what is this team going to look like on Sunday? Because if Brock Purdy isn't feeling good all week, if he can't practice all week, do you risk putting him out there against a New England team that isn't on par with you, and you are already 10.5-point favorites against New England here in Week 4? My advice, don't bet on this game this week, because San Francisco, I think, is going to have a really difficult time in trying to cover that spread. The line will probably go down a little bit. They might even take this off the books because they want to know what the status of Brock Purdy is going to be, but just don't bet on it because we have no idea what the offense is going to look like and who the Niners are going to field, and obviously now they're shorthanded on the defensive side of the ball. And then we round out the show with Christian McCaffrey. Per Kyle Shanahan once more, he is visiting an Achilles specialist in Germany. Obviously, the Niners and McCaffrey, the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year, are trying to solve this lingering issue. But anytime you have to go international in trying to figure out what's going on, that is not a good sign to me. That's a red flag because I imagine McCaffrey has consulted with the Niners team doctors. He has seen some Achilles specialists in the United States. This is an injury that bothered him last year with the calf and Achilles. It bothered him in the playoffs, and then it started to bother him again at the start of NFL training camp, and it simply won't go away. So now McCaffrey is on IR, and he's traveling to Germany to see an Achilles specialist to try to figure this out. This is what Kobe Bryant did, RIP, late in his career when he would get that platelet-rich plasma procedure, the PRP injections in his knee, because I just got done reading a book by his trainer, Tim Grover. Kobe Bryant was in so much pain at the end of his career, he was deciding, can I continue? Can I keep playing? I have to find a solution for this. So he went to see a specialist in Germany as well to get the PRP injections, and luckily for him, it worked, and he was able to milk out the remainder of his NBA career, and he had some great seasons after that. A lot of players have done this type of thing. But when you're playing football and you're a running back and you have the workload and the wear and tear on your body that Christian McCaffrey does, and he's coming off a year in which he led the NFL in touches, had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards, and this injury won't go away, when are we going to see Christian McCaffrey? We're already 2 games in of his 4-game IR stint. I had warned everybody that when he was placed on IR, that it doesn't mean that he's just going to miss 4 games, but now is the timeline going to expand beyond that 4-game threshold? Not good news for the San Francisco 49ers on the injury front. Without McCaffrey, without Debo, without Kittle, without Javon Hargrave, those are all supremely talented football players. Brock Purdy now getting an MRI on his back. I'm trying not to overreact, but man, I'm tired of these injuries for this team because it's one of the only things that can hold this team back. I know that they've struggled to start the year, 1-2. Defense is a joke. Special teams incompetent, and they've been a disaster so far. But if the Niners can't field a healthy football team, that's one thing that can actually truly not be solved by coaching, by scheme, by making adjustments. And now the depth pieces are going to have to step up for the Niners here. Do you still have hope in San Francisco? H for hope, C for you think this team is cooked. Let me know down in the comment section right now. Be sure to give me a follow on social media. I'm on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. A lot of short-form Niners content goes up on my social media pages. Thanks for watching the show. If any more news breaks, I'll be back in front of the camera on a microphone regardless of where I am, and that's why you subscribe to the channel.